Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night Reyes versus Prochazka. This card was chock full of decisions. A lot of decisions. Only 3 fights didn't go to decision. Only 2 went in a KO or TKO. It's kind of sucks because the only reason that makes this fun is if there are, very little decisions, but, it makes my job easier of getting better at scoring these fights, which is good. If the whole card was full of decisions, it helps me out scoring the fights. The problem is too many decisions equals really shitty scorecards because it's in Vegas and they're like 70 judges, and that's how these things go. So we'll start off with the first indecision of injustice or indecision, but for the first injustice of the night was the fight between Sanders and Colares. I'll read my scorecard. My scorecard was 29-28 for Sanders. I gave him a 10-9 in the first and a 10-9 in the third. Now the judges, Mike Bell gave a 29-28 for Colares. Bird gave a 29-28 Colares. And Camijo also gave a 29-28 Colares. Now, this was a little weird because, again, all our scorecards reflect the same minus the third round. So that third round is a little bit different. I saw it much differently than the judges. In that third round, Sanders is outstriking Colares. All right. Both of them got takedowns. Both of them got up relatively quickly, right? So, like we talk a lot on this show, it's very, we talk about the takedowns being null and void if you do nothing with it, right? So if you get a takedown and at the very end of the round, if it's relatively close on the feet, the takedown matters. If you get a takedown and you don't really do anything with it and your opponent gets up pretty quickly, it doesn't really matter, right? But if you incorporate some sort of ground and pound in there, the takedown matters. And both of them got takedowns in that round, in that third round. And both fighters got up relatively quickly. With only Colares getting in like maybe a couple punches in, really a couple punches in, and to give credence to the judges, he may have finished better, but if we're counting the 4 minutes of the round, I would say Sanders was in control of that round. But, it is what it is. I gave the round for Sanders. I thought he did enough the entirety of the round to give him that round. But again, I'm not a fan of, someone finishing better, even if they weren't as good in that, for the entire round. And that's the reason why I thought this was an injustice. I thought Sanders should have gotten the nod. He doesn't. What can you do? There's another injustice on the card. This one I thought was probably the worst one. This one is most definitely the worst one. Now, we'll get this out the way. In the first round, Cutelaba goes insane, really, right, where he gets like 7+ takedowns. Now, a lot of these takedowns are like mini take. Now, like I said at the start, if you don't do anything with the takedowns, yes, it's his round. Let's say all the takedowns were mat returns. All the takedowns were, I took you down, but I didn't do anything. Right? Kind of like, I'm trying to remember a fight. I can't remember. But if they were similar to those wrestlers that kind of just take you down and lay on you and don't really incorporate ground and pound. If it were that sort of thing, yeah, he still wins the round. But in this one, minus the fact that there were a bunch of mat returns, or I don't want to say mat returns, minus the fact that there were a lot of takedowns that Jacoby got up from, and then Cutelaba brings him back down, and then Jacoby gets back up, and then over and over and over again. Minus that fact, there was only one big instance of ground and pound, and that was the elbows against the fence, right? In no way is that a 10-8. It's just not a 10-8. Because take away all the takedowns. Now, I understand that you can't take away all the takedowns, but for the sake of the argument, take away all the takedowns and just have one takedown where he takes him down, pins him to the side of the fence, and gives out those elbows. These elbows and these takedowns came around, I believe, the 2 to 3 minute mark. Yeah, the takedowns were there, but he didn't dominate him the entire round enough to give him a 10-8. Again, a 10-9 is a regular fight. A 10-8 is I dominated you. And a 10-7 is, to me, a TKO that just doesn't get stopped. And in no way is that a 10-8. This should have been a 10-9 because, like we talked about before, these 10-8s have to be so... You have to be so precise with these 10-8s because you could fuck up a scorecard. And this is what happened tonight. So I'll read the scorecard. My scorecard was 29-28 Jacoby, with me giving him a 10-8, a 10-9 in the second and the third round. I'll read off the judges' scorecards. Dave Hagen had 29-28 Jacoby. Rick Winter had 29-28 Cutelaba. And Tony Weeks had a 28-28. Now, it's funny because in the second they gave this one to Cutelaba, but Rick Winter did. I'm not feeling that. You see, after he gets roughed up a little bit in that first, Jacoby's output is up, and he lands more strikes. He lands more strikes, and he incorporates leg kicks in the second round. It's obvious that this round alone belongs to him. And while two judges agree with me there, it's weird that Rick Winter sees it opposite. Now, I won't really jump on Rick Winter here. It's not a close round, but I think he gets that round wrong. And the really, really, really big shitty decision here is Tony Weeks giving out the 10-8. This is that instance that I talked about maybe weeks ago, where a judge is going to fuck up. A judge is going to really, really low. They're itching to give out a 10-8. And this is that instance where you gave out a 10-8 and it fucked up the whole thing. Because look, even if he puts a 10-9 there, we're going to decision and Jacoby's the rightful winner by split D. Instead, we have an unnecessary draw when there was an obvious winner. A 10-9 just basically messed up the scorecard. And because of that, we have a draw for some weird, awkward reason. And that's the second injustice of the night. Now we'll go to the honorable mentions. Reminder that honorable mentions are for rounds that I believe are individually scored wrong, but the overall fight was scored correctly. Even if it ended in a finish or by decision, it really didn't matter. It's just I just have a problem with how it's individually scored. This is, the honorable mentions are me kind of nitpicking, really. The first fight is Michailidis versus Bhullar. This is the first honorable mention. My scorecard was 30-27, Michailidis. Eric Colon had 29-28. Michailidis, Rick Winter had 30-27, and Tony Weiss had 30-27. I'll reiterate the third round here. In the third round, Michailidis outstrikes Bhullar. He outstrikes Bhullar, and except Bhullar adds more leg kicks, right? So there's a chance that Eric Colon could have saw an uptick in leg kicks by Bhullar and just decided, it's his round. But it just wasn't enough to give him that third. He didn't do enough. Bhullar just didn't do enough to give that third. Yeah, he was more active in the third, a lot more active, but not enough to where he wins that. And I think that's just another bad round scored by a judge, by Eric Colon. So honorable mention on that front. Next honorable mention. Oh my God. Trying to be professional. It's not working out. Okay. Next honorable mention is Carolina versus Botelho. My scorecard was 29-28. Carolina. Saul D'Amato had it 29-28. Botelho. Dave Hagen had it 29-28. Carolina. And Kamijo also had it 29-28. So the last two judges, their scorecard reflects my scorecard. Now, Saul D'Amato gave round 2 to Botelho. Now, this is a little weird because in this second round, Botelho in the second round they're both in the clinch, right? There's a lot more clinching in this round, and while they're both in the clinch, Carolina is just more active. She's much more active. And, in fact, while they're in the clinch, she's the only one striking. She's the only one striking for a period of time, and then once Botelho starts to notice that she's hitting her, she starts to reciprocate. There's a lot of clinch work in this one, and Carolina seems to be the one that's just the most active in the clinch, and I think that's the reason why that round goes to her. And apparently Saul D'Amato just didn't see it that way. Maybe he saw something else. Maybe he saw the pressure by Botelho, but I saw Carolina having struck Botelho more times than Botelho did, which is why I gave her the round. And that's another honorable mention for Saul D'Amato. All right, next honorable mention. There's a lot of honorable mentions here. sometimes I get tired of these honorable men. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, maybe I'm nitpicking too much, but I'm not, because while it's not fair to say, it's supported by the other judges. It's kind of supported by the other judges, and the fact that you watch a round and you go, this round obviously belongs to this person. But then you wonder, did that judge just score it incorrectly? Like, was he watching the fight, or did he type it in the wrong number? I don't want to be a dick about it, but that's the way it comes off to me. All right, next honorable mention is Merab Dvalishvili. I'm going to say Merab. Merab versus Stamann. This shouldn't even. This is how you wonder if someone's actually watching a fight. So I do this every week. I talk about what's considered a takedown, what's considered blah 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 blah. This is a 30-27. By all accounts, this is a 30-27. Okay, I had it a 30-27, and I will read off the scorecard. Mike Bell had 30-27. Saul D'Amato had it 29-28, and Rick Winter had it 29-28. Now, this is just this is where we get, where, again, I don't know this yet. So I've asked this question, I think maybe in the first episode, or second, where are they looking through the cage, or are they watching through a screen? Because sometimes you just go, they can't be looking through the cage. They have to have like a monitor of some sort. And if they do have a monitor, there's no way you get these scorecards. So like I said, I have a 30-27 along with Mike Bell. Saul D'Amato has it 29-28. He gives a 10-9 to Stamann in the third. Now I'll get to that in a second. Rick Winter has a 10-9 for Stamann in the first. Now, I'll just recap what happened in the first, but I don't even think I have to. Right. So Merab gets 3 takedowns. But only one matters, really, because Stamann gets up from 2 of them. Okay? Stamann gets up for 2 of the takedowns. But on the one takedown, he actually incorporates ground and pound. So off the top here, 3 takedowns, 1 takedown technically matters. The other 2, Stamann jumps up really quickly. But Merab is catching him on the feet. Merab's striking was much better than Stamann in that first round. So once again, you go back and you think, what is Rick Winter watching? What exactly is he looking at? Okay? That's easy. I mean, D'Amato and Bell had it for the first round. So we'll skip over that. That's just nonsense. For the third round, I want to give, some of these honorable mentions, sometimes I want to give like a little bit of credit. Not credit, but a little bit of leeway, because I could see how a judge saw it a certain way. We'll go into the third, where in the third, Merab still outstrikes Stamann. And he gets taken down also. Now, here's that thing, right? I bring this up every episode. I love to bring this up. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I need to get a t-shirt that says Caitlin Vieira versus shit. Oh my god, come on. Versus oh my god. Caitlin Vieira versus Yana Kunitskaya. All right, my favorite fight of 2020 or of 2021. And the reason why is because to me and to everyone else, it established that when you get taken down, you have to be active. Now, Stamann takes down Merab immediately. Okay, this doesn't matter. I'm tired of this nonsense, right? You know, and I don't like to bring this up, but in the Dober fight, with Makhachev, with Islam, right? Every time Islam took him down, if he had just laid on him, we'd be talking about things a little differently. If he just laid on him and just hugged him on the ground. Now, he incorporated ground and pound. That's what matters, right? He got a 10-8 in one of those rounds, right? You need to understand something. Merab gets taken down, and Merab instantly goes to work. Elbows, 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 punches to the head, for almost about a minute until Stamann responds and starts to land some ground and pound of his own. A little bit here and there. But Merab was more active on his back. And by the way, it was for what? Maybe, I want to say, maybe like 2 minutes or so? Maybe 2 minutes of that time that they were on the bottom. He was active, more active than Stamann was. There's no way on earth that you go, Stamann took him down, therefore he wins the round. No. And that doesn't null and void everything that happened before Stamann took him down. It's this weird thing where these judges are just going, oh, you can just get dominated on the feet for the entire round. Oh, you took him down? Oh, that's your round. What are you talking about? I can't get dominated. Excuse me. I can't get pieced up. Excuse me again. I can't get outstruck on the feet for the entirety of the round, then take somebody down, land less ground and pound, significantly less ground and pound than they did on their back, and give me the round. That's where we get into, like, you're not watching the fight, or Stamann has like, or somebody's just rooting for him hard. You can't do that. That's bad. That's bad judging. That's terrible judging. That might be the worst. That might be those first 2 rounds. Like, this is a definitive 30-27, and the fact that all 3 judges don't have it shows they're not watching this correctly. Rick Winter messing up the first round, and Saul D'Amato messing up the 3rd round, giving a 10-9 to Stamann in both of those rounds, is disgusting. It's disgusting, and it's very bad. It's very bad. Okay, we have we have the very last honorable mention, which is Strickland versus Jotko. I will admit that the second round for me was very tough to score. The second round for me was very tough to score. I'm just going to relay. Again, I had a 30-27 for Strickland. But in that second round, Jotko's output was a lot in that first half, until later where he kind of started to slow down a bit, and Strickland landed much more strikes and leg kicks. Strickland just essentially just ended very well in that round, and he was very close for me in that second. I could have given it to anyone. I wouldn't really be mad if a judge had given it to Jotko in that second. But I gave it to Strickland. He ended the round much better in that second half of the round. He ended it much better. But it's very close. I wouldn't have 9-9'd it, but excuse me, but it's very close. It's very close. Either way, all 3 judges saw it the way I saw it in that second, where they just gave Strickland the 10-9. But the reason why we have an honorable mention is because, again, I'll read off the scorecards. Saul D'Amato had a 30-27, Camijo had a 30-27, and Bird had a 29-28. Not for that second round that I said was kind of close, so I would have been fine with. But the first round, which basically just showed Strickland was, he started kind of slow, Obviously he was pushing the pace, but he landed some big shots, some really big shots, enough to where he won that round. It was kind of like that first round, that first Yuri round versus Reyes, where Reyes was, I believe he probably had more strikes than Prochazka did, but Prochazka just landed the heavier shots. Cause same in this first round. Bird saw it differently. I don't understand why, but hey, there's not much to say on some of these. But honorable mention there for Bird for scoring that round wrong. That's all I got for today. Thank you for listening. Hopefully next week we have a lot less decisions. Way too many decisions. Hopefully more improvement on... I don't even know who I'm talking to at this point. It's not like a judge is listening going, David, I'm going to stop giving up the 10-8s. Hopefully we just get better consistency on these cards. Less 10-8s that don't need to be there. Less judges acting like superheroes. And judges that are actually watching all 5 minutes of the round and not just giving out shit. There's no need for bad scoring on these cards. Because we're getting down to the wire where these fights are getting close in the Apex. We saw that, if these were in different areas, we get better scorecards. In Vegas, we somehow get crappy scorecards where you're either not watching a round, or you're just deciding, hey, you got a takedown, even though you were losing the entire round. I guess that's your round. We need to fix that. That needs to get fixed. Thank you for listening, and God bless.